So now let's start with this little overview that I mentioned about CPQ. The CPQ landscape is evolving, right? So, and it has evolved for quite some time, but there were more changes in the last 10 years, I think, than there were probably in the previous 20 years. So some of the some of the things you should know is probably there are well over 125 CPQ solutions available. I think that number is even a little bit low. I had followed this pretty closely for years, but stopped following it that closely for new vendors 1.5 years ago or so because of other projects. So, but there are well over 125, potentially more than 200 vendors worldwide that offer CPQ solutions. So that doesn't make it easier for customers, right? So because they have to find out who should you pick. A couple of the major players which are known, just I guess also because of the company size, Salesforce, Oracle, SAP. There are many others, but these are probably the most well known because they are the biggest companies. But now when I work with customers and they look for CPQ solutions, I typically tell them what I tell you right now, to look at a couple of different things, how these vendors can be differentiated, right? So, and the first one is typically the industry specialization. So, one thing which can be misleading for someone who's new to this is when you go to a vendor and they tell you they can do everything. They're not specialized in any industry, right? So that is typically not true from my perspective. So what you will have a couple of industries that you are really strong in, and it's like, as an example, I mentioned two very different industry, manufacturing and software. So for the manufacturing industry, you deal with physical goods, and you need to produce these goods also at some point, right? So, and for software, you're dealing with code. So there's no physical product to ship. It's also, I send it to you differently than I send the difficult good. I charge potentially differently, right? So I have subscriptions and so on. So very big differences depending on the industry. So now some industries are a little bit closer together. So you could have, for example, manufacturing and distribution might be a little bit closer with some of the requirements. So um, I think it's fair if a vendor tells you they are more specialized in one, two, three different industries. If it's much more, it's at least worth asking if that's really true and digging a little bit deeper if that can be uh, verified. Sorry about that. That's one thing. The next one is the ability to handle complexity. So not everyone has a need for super complex products. So then you have to look, what are you actually trying to configure? You have something like a McDonald's handouts that the kids get with 10 pieces that comes in different colors and some smaller options, or you're dealing with someone like a Caterpillar, which has thousands of parts and needs to be put together, right? So this ability to handle complexity, and not just on the configuration side, but that's one piece. So where you say, how differentiated is that really between the vendors? So that's something potential buyers should also pay attention to. Then you have typically a feature and function focus of the different vendors. And that is historically, I would say most of the vendors which have been around for 20 years, they probably come from the product configuration environment. There are a couple of them also coming from a pricing environment. And then you have some newer ones which try to combine everything. So that has multiple reasons. So in order to be really good at product configuration, you probably have to have really deep knowledge in that. You have worked on this for a while. This is typically not something that is developed in 6 months, like you see some of the newer companies, right? So, but as I said, not everyone needs that. You also have all-in-one solutions where you say, I do everything a little bit. I'm not the best at anything. But for the target audience that I'm addressing, I do everything in one solution. So I don't have to worry about integrations and stuff like that because I do it all in one. I have the e-signature, I have the contract management, I have the pricing and so on. Just maybe not at the deepest level, but you have to look at really what are different feature and function focus. So as one example, I mentioned this here because I see customers often searching the internet for Google and stuff like that, and then you would see, oh, pros is something that seems to be good for pricing. Yes, that's true. That would be one example for that, right? So they are more into pricing, and then you would have a Configit or a Tacton or others also where I would say, hey, they are really good at product configuration, have done it for a long time. So the feature and function focus is also very important to pay attention to. Then off-the-shelf capabilities as important, especially when you're trying to implement these solutions. So by now, standard is basically to integrate with Salesforce and Microsoft Dynamics. Then you have some other vendors, they may come off the shelf with integrations to Zoho or something else. But depending on what you need as a customer, it's very important to see what solutions you integrate with off the shelf. And then it's also, I don't want to go into this today because we don't have the time, but you also have to look a little bit deeper at what off the shelf really means. It doesn't mean you plug it in and it's done, right? So there's still some work that needs to be done. ERP solutions, obviously, some examples are Oracle, SAP, Epicor, Infor, and tons of other systems. E-commerce systems is more important since the pandemic, at least, right? So for some, you have if you do visual products, you have computer-aided design CAD systems that you need to integrate with. And there's a whole bunch of other three-letter acronym systems like a PLM, PDM, and so on that you would need to integrate with. But you have to look, what is the solution that you're looking for? What can they really integrate with? So does that fit with your requirements? This one over here, cloud versus on-premise, should not be here anymore, but it still is because you still see, at least I see a couple of customers, vendors still, that believe the on-premise solution is a better solution if it's for privacy or if it's because they think they're getting financially ripped off. It's much less, obviously. Cloud is the way to go, has been for a long time, but it's still there. That's why I mention it here. And then over the last couple of years, I think this discussion has also come up with the solution architecture in Europe. I think it was even over 10 years ago where the discussion was, but it doesn't matter the timing. It's coming up again where you say you want to have a modular architecture. All that means is basically either I have everything in one solution, I give you the screens, I give you the logic, everything is one big application and it works together, or you have bits and pieces that you can use as needed. You also have sometimes, which may be a little bit misleading, again, I'm not going into this today here, but API first is also where you would say, okay, I can integrate with something. It doesn't necessarily have to be a modular architecture then, right? So, but you could access it via API first. And when you have headless, is more or less the way I typically explain it to customers is to say, if you want to have your website with your branding, everything the way you want it, you need the headless configuration. Otherwise, you have to work with what the vendors provide to you. So these are a couple of things which I think are really foundational for every customer to know about before you even go ahead and look for a different for a solution from any vendor from that point. I'm not sure why I'm jumping so much, but what I want to point out here very quickly is also the critical role of configuration and integration, right? So, and I had put a definition over here of configuration, what is meant by that. And the reason I do that obviously is we have Configit here and they have a strong configuration engine. So I want to make sure that everyone's on the same page of what configuration is. I guess you can read yourself, so I'm not reading this to you over here. Integration, just very short also, this is super important. And I have a graphic over here which is meant to show that a little bit more. CPQ is one system. It is a very important system from my point of view because it is in the middle of a lot of other systems, right? It's not a standalone solution. It integrates with lots of solutions. I've put a couple of examples over here. We already mentioned the CRM, the ERP system. You could have, hey, I want to configure a product and I want to see that while I do it. So that's a visual configuration. You could do that in 2D and 3D. You could have a contract lifecycle management or configuration lifecycle management, how Configit calls it. It means something different than contract lifecycle management, by the way, but that's something that Max will go into. Product lifecycle management, product information, and so on. You can see that over here, lots of systems in between. And therefore, it's important that it can easily integrate and work with other systems because it's not a standalone solution. And especially for anyone who is doing M&As, that is very important because you will integrate more solutions. And then the CPQ system has to play with all of them, right? And the easier it can do that, the better it is typically. Now, before I hand it over to Max, a very quick overview over a typical CPQ flow. The way I see it, it's overly simplified, but I want everyone to understand it without the long explanation. Is basically is the sales rep creates a sales opportunity in CRM over here, whatever your CRM is, right? So, and then as like you have a customer, the customer wants a product, he has to pay a price for this product or service, right? So he's creating this over here. So then once that becomes a little bit clear and you know, not just, hey, they want to buy something for $50,000, you know what product model they want to buy, and they really want to go ahead, and now you see, hey, now he's interested in something, or she, for 45,000, and then you go and prepare a quote in a CPQ system. Once the customer accepts the quote, and you could have also a differentiation between quote and proposal. Quote is something that's a little bit shorter. That's maybe just one page where you have the prices and the products that you're selling, the payment terms, customer information, stuff like that. And a proposal may be something where you go ahead and you add a bunch of different documents that explain the products, where you have a link to a YouTube video, where you have a marketing leaflet and stuff like this, where you explain it a little bit more. But then customer accepts a quote or a proposal, then the sales reps goes ahead, basically converts this quote into an order. That's when you have to interface then also to ERP, and that's something I should have mentioned over here, right? Obviously, when you create the opportunity and punch it out to CPQ, then you have the integration between CRM and CPQ, right? So anyway, now we're here. We have the order in the system. It was created with the help of a CPQ solution, and now the order is available in ERP, and that's where we stop for this point of view. So now what you also keep in mind, I'm not talking about this today, is it needs to be manufactured. Now you've sold it, so you have the sales bill of material, sales BOM, and now you may need to have a more manufacturing BOM, right? It's also still needs to be shipped, delivered, and invoice, which we're not talking about. So now I go ahead and hand over to Max.
Appreciate, Frank. Thank you. Thank you for the insight. And great to see everyone here. True pleasure to be here. Obviously, my name is Max, representing Configit here, and I'm delighted to share our new VAR and go-to-market strategy and the market space where we serve, and the insight that you gave that's pretty on the spot there, Frank, with the CPQ evolvement of CPQ or configurators to where we are today. I will just touch base with a short intro of myself. If you go to next slide, and then we'll give you a little bit broader information about Configit and our new partner strategy. Obviously, value and benefits, as you described the workflow on the spot there as well, Frank, regarding the journey of a customer experience with CRM, CPQ, and ERP. But as the industry and the market is evolving, there are some changes on those workflows as well that the manufacturing company is being challenged by. So I will bring some insights, and I think Enrico will give us and reach us a little bit further in the details. But to start with, I can actually start with intro of myself. I've been with Configit for over a year. I'm VP of Global Partner Business for Configit. But I'm not new to this space. I started my journey with another leader of CPQ in the space, where I was there for 13, 14 years, serving and really evolving from a sales configurator, where the revolution of Industry 4.0 or smart manufacturing pushed the market towards more the acronym of CPQ, configure, price, quote, quote to cash, etc., which was. It used to be too good to be true. Now CPQ is becoming a little bit more commodity, as Frank mentioned. There's almost 200 different vendors. But one thing is for sure, the leaders will always stay true leaders when it comes to complexity. There are not too many vendors that can serve that market. So that's how my journey started with CPQ. I was with actually Autodesk reseller for 4 years, where we were serving our manufacturing customers with technology and the great platform and portfolio that Autodesk had, where we were challenged to, according to stay true technology partner to our customers, we needed to actually fulfill their needs and the trend in the market and the evolvement and challenges. And that's why we partner with actually a CPQ vendor, where we get the great success in a short amount of time to really, for multiple reasons. One, to expand our offering to our customers. Second, stay closer to our customer and get stickier. And that's where I am today, actually, on the vendor side, where I see a great potential for this market to penetrate with Configit and the market space for North America and Europe primarily, where Configit has never actually touched anything below 750 million before. So I see this as a great open market, and that's why I'm delighted to share actually this news to the community and how we will be serving manufacturing companies. If you go to next slide, thank you, Frank, appreciate it. And enough about me, we can go into the Configit and see who Configit is. Yeah, Configit. We're headquartered actually in Copenhagen, Denmark. We have global presence in US, UK, Germany, and India. If I would look at the Configit, and when it comes to complex configuration, I would say that the Configit is pioneers of complex configuration, which all started from AI and research, IT and Research Institute in Denmark. That's all started to solving actually the most complex challenges and for product and configuration space for manufacturers. We are about 180 plus employees currently and serving 200 great logos as customers worldwide. We do work with strong partner network as far as looking at Microsoft, PTC, PwC, NVIDIA, Accenture, etc. We see a great presentation of logos that we have actually acquired during the journey that has helped us to fulfill and evolve and complete our solution where we are today. You see a few names here, Seidel, part of Tetra Pak or Tetra Laval company, Emerson, Siemens, GLR, Johnson Control, etc. If you go to next slide, we have a little broader actually great logo presentations that actually have helped us to further develop our solution where we are today. So some of these are using true pure CPQ. Some of these are actually using our CLM, which is Configuration Lifecycle Management. Some of them started with CPQ and evolved, and during the time they evolved and actually using our Configuration Lifecycle Management. So these are all actually some of the great customers that we have collaborated on during the years to help them to stay the leader within their space. Partner strategy, yes. The way I'm looking at strategically, Configit has always kept the threshold at 750 million and above because of their multiple reasons. There are not too many companies that have been in need and challenged to look for complex configuration to serve and help them in the market, but also looking at the configuration lifecycle management because there's so many configurators. It's a complete open space because even mid-market and small businesses are actually being challenged to follow the development and to follow the trend. And I usually see that 50% of Fortune 500 companies does not exist anymore because they did not invest in technology and they didn't follow the trend in the market. Where we see this now actually that more and more, even small businesses are prompt to invest in technology to stay on top of the trend, but be the leader of what they're doing and progress rather than to lose market share. And that's why we see this a great potential to help our partners as well as their customers to continue innovate and grow, and with our technology and software we'll be able to help them to get there. If we go to next slide here, then I can give you guys a little bit broader perspective of Configit partner strategy. We work with on the technology partner side, we have actually been acknowledged to become a business partner with one of the world's leading PLM company, which is PTC. On the PLM space, we are extending actually PTC's capability and functionality more to the front end, where they're super strong and with an engineering platform, but we will be bridging that to the sales, more on the sales and front end. We have partnered with NVIDIA, where we are actually within Omniverse and OpenUSD and helping their customers within the platform to keep them a full end user experience within the platform that we can leverage and actually using our technology. We are complementing Salesforce CPQ leverage the best-in-class P and Q, but when it comes to C for certain customers with the highest complexity, where we can actually extend their offering and help them to be true partner to their customers, utilizing their P and Q, but we complement their solution with our C. And we do actually work with Microsoft, and we're an app source as well within Microsoft. But when it comes to the consulting partners, we work with Deloitte, PwC, etc., that they have acknowledged and seen actually that trend is evolving and more towards on CPQ and configuration lifecycle management. That is where we see the future actually, and we work closely with them, as well as system integrators. We work with Accenture, Infosys, HCL, etc., but also on the smaller sides like Solution Space, CoolShop, where we call them also as a service providers, not just the system integrators. Enrico will give us a little bit more on that as well, and enlighten us about what they do and how we have achieved some great success with customers. And the last pillar, I would say that it's the value-added resellers that we have never touched this market, completely white space. And I would love to actually collaborate with, preferably with partners that know how to sell technology. I would ideally look at the PTC's world, Autodesk world, or Dassault's world, where they're being challenged. It's a pretty saturated market for them. They're being challenged to grow even further more, plus to be the true technology partner for their customers. They're being prompt to deliver the expectations. And that's where we can actually help them to take it to the next level with our CPQ or configurators that can actually extend that to the configuration lifecycle management eventually. So that's kind of our partner strategy with the partners that we work with and collaborate. And then we talk about, even Frank mentioned all about CPQ and how it works. Let me just go to the next slide, Frank, and actually give a little bit more uniqueness to this. What is different with Configit? Why Configit? CPQ has been pretty straightforward. Configure, price, quote. I would say that it serves more on the sales side and quotation. Yes, the journey starts with CRM, CPQ, and then ERP, but that's not enough. Within manufacturing, we see that there are other pillars, what I would look like from engineering side of it. You need all those technical options and rules to be connected. You have the quotation and commercial options for the customers facing environment to be able to be connected to the product and factory. You also need manufacturing. So then we have this for manufacturing and how to connect the manufacturing side of it to the services. So within any manufacturing that you step in, whether it's a small business, whether it's mid-market or enterprise, I would say the journey would look like the same. You have the engineering, you have the sales and commercial side, you have the manufacturing, and then you have the service side. Even on the service side, becomes a bigger challenge now for a lot of customers when it looked like the new acronym is actually developing there with service lifecycle management, how to manage all that. And that's why where we play the best role to actually not only focus on the sales and quotation side of it, our engine is also capable of extending each other pillars configurations and configurators that are already existing there, or we could replace them as well. So in majority of the time, we're extending without touching any changes on those engineering services and manufacturing logics. We compile them all together with our technology to give them the best end customer experience. That's the uniqueness with Configit. And if we look at the next slide, Frank, then we can look at it's just what makes Configit really unique. If we look at those four pillars, as I mentioned, engineering to focus on developing product, sales focusing on selling it, manufacturing to focus on actually deliver, as well as on the service and maintenance that needs to be connected, all those dots. That's why we are prompting that just CPQ for sales is not enough, in my opinion. We're going more and more towards the new evolvement of the disruption market, where we see actually the challenges within manufacturing, the trend, as well as other challenges in the global world where we live in. This is, you need more connected systems to serve serve the challenges, not for short term, but for long term. And that's why we think that with our configuration and CPQ, we can actually not be a current investment, but future investment for our customers. And that's why we're prompting for more centralized management of the product configuration definition, where we see that the businesses and systems all needs to be connected to serve the simplicity to their customers and make. And this automatically leads to few benefits. If we go to next slide, and the benefits could be different for each customer. Obviously, the major ones, the way we look at, like cost saving is important, revenue growth is important, risk reduction is important. But if we look at a little bit of details here, zero errors, that automatically it enriches the brand awareness as well as the brand reputation. If we look at the 95% reduction in product modeling time, that is significant. If we look at ability to handle more products with the same resource without scaling, 90% less effort, these are much more the benefits that we should focus on and help, and the multiple avenues that we help our customers to stay competitive, stay on top of their business and what they do, and grow without scaling. Yes. Last message, obviously, we are opening this for our community, but we want to be focused actually and work with some exclusive partners. We have selected or will identify 5 partners for North America and 5 partners for Europe to start with, and mainly through them explore this wide space, untouched market for Configit. And remember, this is coming based on increased demand that we are receiving and getting from our prospects that are below 750. That's why we are opening up this. We have packaged this more towards CPQ and configuration lifecycle management to serve the mid-market and small businesses. Obviously, through this, we can help our customers, our partners' customers, to stay competitive and empower their technology portfolio, what they have. And through that, we will be able to help them to grow actually opportunities and hit their numbers and expand this to make it a little bit more lucrative within their portfolio, but more importantly, to see greater success and stay close to their customers, to be the true partners. And I will be delighted to discuss this conversation with any of you potential partners in the future.
Excellent. So then let's go ahead. Let's hear from an actual partner, right? So what their experience is. So
sitting in Torino today, Enrico speaking. I'm Chief Strategy Officer at CoolShop. CoolShop is a CPQ software vendor. Let's put it plain and simple. One of the 200 plus Frank mentioned. Actually, we started working with Configit 10 years ago. So it's a long-lasting partnership, and that's why I'm particularly proud and happy to be here today. We have a global footprint. As I said, I'm sitting in Torino. We have a Dubai office, we have a Chicago office, and a presence in Rotterdam. And actually, we are committed to delivering an effective sales experience. So we are all in with the vision that Max was sharing, and actually the need for understanding the end-to-end needs of the company we are working with. And that's why I foster the local mantra in our company and towards our customers, because we are living in a scenario that evolves at an incredible fast pace. As you were mentioning, there are not just industry challenges. We all see them. We are living in a period of an incredible technological acceleration. At the same time, companies are asking for a customer-centric approach that it's way beyond just the technology that may be picked, and actually starts with an holistic view on one end and the focus on user experience. And that's why our DNA includes the design and the system integration in order to bridge the gap that the right technology can partially cope with. We want to provide the correct experience to the end user. So we want to serve the company we serve in order to have all the value that they're conceiving for their end user delivered. So that's why we think that in this fast-changing scenario, partnering with Configit is the right choice, and I'm more than happy to celebrate this 10th anniversary today. Meaning we have started the journey, and we have a couple of case history that we will be presenting in a few slides. I don't want to spoil it too much. The point is that during the years we have evolved together with the scenarios I mentioned and with the technology we are now mastering, and we see that there is room for more partners in order to cover geographies and sweet spots that as of today are just an addressable market. We see that the market below the 700 million in revenue, let's try to simplify that, is now capable of being enough structured in terms of processes where actually they can leverage the advantage of having a game changer technology to differentiate themselves in the market in order to have a competitive advantage. The partnership logic enables to operate in specific sector geographically, mainly in the manufacturing industry. We're now focusing on that in order to have the possibility of establishing trust with end customers, relying on a solid technology. I'm mentioning obviously Configit here, being the single point of contact from the lead management to the training, obviously passing through the implementation of the solution that has been spotted and defined with the end customer. This generate a simple thing that is key to any partnership, and it's trust. So I'm happy to jump into clear examples of what trust means in a partnership. So Frank, if you can just move to the CLM slide, because this is exactly what trust means and what having a long-lasting partnership means. We have hosted with Configit an event focused on configuration lifecycle management, something that was a typical representation of the advantages of the technology translated into the value of a community, and this dates back to 2016, if I recall correctly, when the first event was held in Copenhagen by Configit. We were proud to be the co-host of this event in Torino last year, where actually we had the chance to have on the stage customers we have been serving together. Customers that are also friends and that are part of a community that was happy to share, interact, and present case history. And we have a couple of examples in the next few slides where actually we can be hands-on on the problems that they were facing, how they found the solution along the journey, and how they are still evolving. CNH Industrial is the first customer we started working together with. It was 2015. CNH Industrial was one of the speakers of the event, and they are still evolving the logic of the configuration lifecycle management deployed in the organization. And that's just a confirmation of the evolving journey that we are in and of the multiple elements of the representation. That it's correct, Frank, when you mentioned there is the CRM, there's the CPQ, there are legacy systems, but I'm pretty confident that if we are having the same webinar next year, probably we will have new elements to add to the picture. So having trust, it's something that has no price. Having the right partners, it's something you can build on top of. And that's why I'm happy to spend words about what we've been doing together. So Frank, if you can move to an example. For example, I mentioned CNH Industrial. And that's the reason why we're sitting here in Torino, but actually we also have a presence in Chicago. They have headquarters in Racine and Woolridge and multiple facilities. They are an equipment, technology, and service company. That's how they picture themselves. Actually, it's a house of brand. Let's try to oversimplify this, operating in the agricultural, construction, and financial services space. They are also listed, by the way. So, house of brands, grown by acquisition, multiple legacy systems, a global presence, and that means many systems, but single users to serve. So how to streamline this process, how to streamline the differences between the new brands and the existing ecosystem already created. Well, that was the challenge. That's something we started in 2015 with the friends and partners of Configit. And if you can just switch to the next slide, Frank, just to try to summarize in Sales App, the most evident and latest update on the solution we are working on. It's a sales companion app, and that's the front end, relying on Configit ACE, I would today call behind the scene. It's a long-lasting partnership, multiple technology adopted, a tool that has been released in multiple waves in order to have grip with the user community. Today we are counting almost 600 active users and 300K plus offers created, operating on a global scale. Numbers are there. The slides are those that were presented by Alberto Russo. Again, names, face, trust. That is the program manager who is leading the development of the sales app in CNH Industrial. Configuration, that's the backbone. A smart interface in order to onboard, enable, and let the users benefit from the technology. Offline capabilities, and actually a blend of the advantage that CRM, in this case Dynamics in the EMEA region, and actually, as I was mentioning, it's an evolving scenario now. Salesforce in the NAFTA scenario can blend. So CRM and CPQ can blend because there's one salesperson and one customer asking for help. That's the focus. That's the experience. Then technology is an enabler. That's the role. That's my angle of the partner, to transform technologies into enabler and needs into solution. That's the sweet spot where the partnership between Coolshop and Configit is thriving. Because actually, on top of the classic configuration topic, you can provide add-on that are a differentiator in their industry and in their business, such as managing also pre-owned stock or financial services. And today, this solution, it's something that is evolving from a web application, self-consistent, to microservices that can be accessed also to operators that are not exactly the classic dealership. So again, providing the right landscape, the right technology, the right tools, with the right vision provided by the partner that is capable of supporting the decision of the customer, that's how you probably leverage the best the investment in technology. And I'd like to move to the next use case, Frank, if you can help me, just to highlight how in the manufacturing space, as Max was mentioning, Sidel in his slides, I think this can help to connect the dots. We are providing value as a partner, as a VAR, as a reseller, creating a connection and integrating the offering. Sidel is part of the Tetra Laval group. Is a company that is reaching 1.5 billion in revenues and 5,000 plus employees across the globe. They are into the packaging solutions for beverage. That's what they sell. I try to translate it. Some of their customers are Coca-Cola, maybe you have heard of, or Heineken. So let's say the more classic, the iconic beverages I may mention. So what happened? If you can just move to the next slide. Production lines are complex, and I know Max has been dealing with these topics for years. Fast evolving market, downtime is exactly what they need to prevent, and production line, in this case, packaging line, bottling line, it's not just a single piece of equipment. It's a set of equipments connected by conveyor belt that actually have an increasing level of complexity to be managed. Without entering the nitty-gritty details, the Coolshop support together with the Configit technology provided an end-to-end solution today adopted by the 700 plus account manager across the globe. Just some numbers out of the press release that we have a screenshot from in the slide. They have improved the response time. They state and signed off 100 times faster response time during the configuration process. Quoting time that moves from 15 minutes to seconds. And a roadmap that has been now started and clear, and where they have the building block to make it happen, where they now have clearly in mind how to connect engineering, sales, and manufacturing, and now they don't just have a clear picture of it, they also have the technological tool to make it happen. On top of the classic Configit solution, ACE, we supported them with a catalog management solution that is one of the tools we provide. We were capable of creating a custom front end, but that's something that I'm happy to speak about when we enter the question and answer, if somebody is interested in, or even connecting after the session. Like the message I may provide is that on top of the technology provided by Configit, it is possible to create an ecosystem of services and of SaaS products, such as our CoolSales or CoolPIM, or services in terms of custom design that targets a specific pain solution that actually is beneficial not only for the end user, that is the purpose of any healthy business, but for the actors that are working together in order to create a value proposition that is unique on the market and that can scale fast. And that's something I'm happy, and this is a journey I'm happy we have started 10 years ago, and we are proud to be here today. So Frank, Max, if you don't have any other question, I think I'm good.